Welcome. ResolveSH matter 1005 with Pacific Gas and Electric. PG&E told me my critical infrastructure project would not be supported because I am black. 9 days later, my contract was terminated. Hello, and welcome to ResolveSH matter 1005. My name is Robert Velasco. I'm the story owner for this matter. I'm presenting this video under the principles of the ResolveSH movement. The respondents in this matter are Pacific Gas and Electric, also known as PG&E, David Wong, and Will Butilla. I encourage all respondents to tell their side of the story. Truth requires ownership. Today I want to tell you a story about protecting the U.S. power grid, race, and the termination of my consulting contract with one of the largest utility companies in the United States, Pacific Gas and Electric. Now, I'm not asking anyone to take my side. I'm simply telling my story. On August 18th of 2020, I began consulting for PG&E as an independent consultant. My responsibilities included leading the corporate security innovation and robotics program, where we used robots, innovation, drones, and evaluated other technologies that could help protect not only PG&E critical infrastructure, but hopefully critical infrastructure across the country. As many people know, the electric power grid is one of the most important critical infrastructure sectors or industries in the United States. It is my opinion that without power in today's world, without electricity, the other 15 sectors of U.S. critical infrastructure as defined by Homeland Security cannot operate without power. That's telecommunications, that's finance, that's healthcare services. So in late 2022, I developed a ballistic protection concept designed to help protect electrical substations from high-powered rifle attacks. At that time, attacks against substations were becoming a growing concern throughout the country, including key substations that were shot out east and in the state of Washington. On October 31st, 2022, I met with PG&E's Senior Director of Electric Transmission to discuss this concept. The meeting went well. A technical feasibility review was conducted, and the concept was determined to be viable. A pilot development was planned at a Northern California transmission substation. A large development and deployment strategy was also included. At that point, I believed the project was moving forward. Then things changed. Throughout early 2023, my manager, David Wong, who is Asian and one of the greatest guys I've ever worked for, repeatedly described delays in the project as corporate politics. On February 22nd of 2023, David Wong called me. During that conversation, he told me that Will Butilla, who is black and was essentially the CFO or money guy for PG&E's corporate security division, had informed him that corporate security senior leadership at PG&E would not support the ballistic protection initiative because I am black. I was shocked. It was 2023 and we're having that discussion. I had never accused anyone at PG&E of discrimination. I never raised the race issue. The statement came from David. He encouraged me to call Will directly. I sent Will a text. We agreed to meet the next morning. The following day, on February 23rd of 2023, I called Will directly. I asked him a simple question. I asked whether it was true that he told David Wong that senior leadership at PG&E would not support the initiative because I am black. Will confirmed that statement. 4 days later, on February 27th, I met with PG&E's chief legal counsel. During that meeting, I presented the ballistic protection initiative and discussed the deployment planning. At that point, again, the project still appeared to be moving forward and advancing. Then, on March 3rd, David Wong called me and said my contract was terminated effective immediately. I was initially told the initiative was being moved to quote unquote an enterprise level. Later that same day, after hours, David Wong called me and told me something different. I was informed that the initiative would not go to enterprise level. Instead, it was going to be reassigned to leaders in corporate security. Those explanations did not appear consistent to me. What happened next raised even more questions. After my contract was terminated, PG&E's chief legal counsel, PG&E's senior director of electric transmission, that's the guy running electric transmission for PG&E, and his senior leadership team continued reviewing and discussing the ballistic protection initiative with me, and we met on March 27th. That's Monday, March 27th of 2023. Now, my contract had already been terminated. The project continued to circulate among senior leadership. Meetings continued, discussions continued, the idea continued, and PG&E electric transmission senior leadership still wanted to proceed with the plan. As I sit here today, that sequence of events remains difficult for me to understand. Before closing, I want to summarize the matter using the ResolveSH timeline. So here's the timeline. August 18th of 2020, I began consulting with PG&E. October 31st of 2022, I present a ballistic protection concept to PG&E electric transmission senior leadership. During the period of late 2022, technical field-based reviews with substation field leaders determined that the concept is viable. February 22nd, David Wong tells me the initiative will not be supported because I am black. February 23rd, at David Wong's direct request, I call Will Butilla directly and ask him whether the statement is true, and he confirms that. February 27th, I meet with PG&E's chief legal counsel, who I'd worked with once before, and we had a great working relationship to discuss the initiatives and the slides to be presented to PG&E's electric leadership team. During that conversation, he made general statements, one of which was every utility company in the United States should follow this plan. Now, I don't have that documented because we were just talking on the phone or just communicating. But at the end of the day, he believed and supported the program. That's February 27th, 2023. March 3rd, 2023, PG&E terminates my contract. March 6th, from my personal email account, after I've terminated already, at 5:03 a.m., I sent an email to PG&E's chief legal counsel, the senior director of electric transmission, and the 5 assigned field leaders, informing them that unexpectedly innovation had moved to the enterprise level. My position was immediately terminated, and I'd still be willing to meet to present the solution. Again, that was at 5:03 a.m. At 8:48 a.m., the senior director of electric transmission replies and still wants to meet. At 8:36 p.m., I receive an email from PG&E's chief legal counsel to my personal email that reads, and I quote, "Rob, I am so sorry," and in parentheses, "and perplexed to hear your news. For what it's worth, I've been very appreciative of your efforts and initiatives, and I hope we can continue to work together." On March 27th, again, my contract's already been terminated. On March 27th, 2023, PG&E's chief legal counsel, the electric transmission, senior director of electric transmission, and his senior leaders meet with me. They continue to review and discuss the initiative after my termination, and we agree on a presentation that was presented to them to start a pilot at one Northern California substation, then expand to include in upwards of 100 what I'm going to call tier 2 substations. I don't need to get into too much detail on that because, again, we are dealing with U.S. critical infrastructure. So here are my open questions. On Friday the 22nd of 2023, did David Wong call me and tell me that Will Butilla stated senior leadership would not support the initiative because I'm black? I know the answer to that. And then on February 23rd, did Will Butilla confirm that statement when I asked him directly? Question 3, if I met with PG&E's chief legal counsel on February 27, 2023, and the initiative was still advancing, why was my contract terminated just 4 days later on March 3rd, 2023? And if the ballistic protection solution initiative didn't have value, why did PG&E's chief legal counsel, PG&E's senior director of electric transmission, and other PG&E electric leaders continue to review and discuss it after terminating the person who developed the concept? Next question, was race a factor in the decision to terminate my contractual relationship with PG&E? And lastly, why does CEO Patty Poppy of PG&E continue to refuse to meet with me and discuss facts associated with the matter? The respondents are invited to provide corrections, clarification, documents, timelines, or their own response videos. Truth requires ownership. This concludes ResolveSH Matter 1004 with Pacific Gas and Electric. My name is Robert Velasco. I'm the story owner for this matter. Thank you for listening.